I run a yoga therapy training, obviously the application of yoga to health conditions, which means that what I'm teaching and offering and my organization is not necessarily pure yoga. And so the topic of whether or not yoga therapy as a discipline overall is cultural appropriation comes up quite a bit. Now, I don't want to take a particular stance on that in this video and create an angry, heated discussion. Instead, what I would like to do is share a very poignant article that was published in the Journal of Complementary Therapies on Medicine called The Ethics of Yoga in Mental Health Care, published by Volbert. I think that's how you say her last name. Apologies if that's not the right pronunciation, which asks important questions. And I invite all of you in a kind and yogic manner to share your perspective. So first of all, she asks, is yoga religious? And if it is religious, is it appropriate to bring it into mental health care? And if it's not religious, who just decides it's not religious? Prime Minister Modi has called it a secular practice. But are we to take that, therefore, to be a cardinal truth? How do we make those determinations? Whose expertise do we rely on for that? And if yoga is agreed to be a religious practice, is it appropriate to relieve or to remove religious elements? Another question that she asks is it appropriate to teach yoga without the 8 limbs, as opposed to what often people think yoga is, which is just the postures or the postures and the breathing? And she says, if all of these aspects should be included, a classical practice of yoga, then is it ethical to bring the yamas and niyamas into mental health care? Because one of the things that many forms of mental health care focuses on is allowing the client or the patient to have their own value structure. And even if we were to take license with how we define some of the yamas and niyamas, even introducing these as ideas at all, is that ethical within mental health care? She also asks whether or not bringing yoga into the Western world and modifying it in any way, or bringing it in point blank, is cultural borrowing or cultural appropriation. She doesn't use this language, but I would like to add cultural appreciation. And she talks about what is the threshold for it being appropriation. Is it modifying, or is it just disrespecting the origins of yoga? Another question to answer. She also talks about the fact that diversity needs to be expressed more in yoga. And that's not really a position where she's saying it shouldn't exist and asking it as a question. And then finally, she's asking if we make adaptations of yoga so that many different populations can benefit, thereby changing some of the original teachings of asana and pranayama. Once again, are we modifying it too much that we are no longer really honoring the tradition itself? Or has yoga been modified throughout history to meet different populations? So again, these are the questions she asks. I really think that if this is an interesting conversation to you, that you read it, and I would love to hear your thoughts, but I ask that on this account, you keep your perspectives kind, because otherwise we have lost the spirit of yoga in the discussion about it, which would be ironic and also unfortunate. Namaste.